Welcome back to Access Houston on 97.9 The Box.
Good Sunday morning. You're listening to Access Houston. I'm your host, KG Smooth, welcoming an H-Town legend on the film scene. He was given to me by, well, not given to me. He was suggested that he comes on the program through Jimbo from the Mad Hatter Morning Show. He was like, "Hey, did Tyrone Dixon, have you had him on? I think you should have him on. He's doing some great things." So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Tyrone D. Dixon. Good morning, man.
Thank you, KG, for having me here. This is great.
Man, I'm glad that you're here. So, tell us about yourself. I mean, I know that you have done you've done a lot of things. You know, worked with Russell Simmons on Def Pictures.
Yes.
You've worked with Debbie Allen, H-Town Zone, that H-Town connection there.
Yes.
Tell us about you.
Well, I'm originally from Houston. I live in LA now, but I commute back and forth to teach film and television at Texas Southern University.
Okay.
One of the things that my wife and I have been very, conscious of is the idea of, diversity and what is it that we can do to participate. And we both she went to Howard, obviously I went to TSU, and so we loved the HBCU world and felt like, well, we needed to make a sacrifice. And I come out to TSU and teach, and at the same time create a bridge for students who want to move into the entertainment industry and want to move out to LA, and I try to help them get settled in. And, and so far, man, we have like over 25 of my former students over the last 6 or so years have moved and are working and doing their thing in Los Angeles, Atlanta, New York. And I remember when I was at TSU, it was like a big deal to leave Houston. And, it changed my life. So, I'm trying to encourage as many folk that I can that don't worry about the cost of living, and all of that kind of stuff, to chase your dream if that's what it is. Because that's what I did. I moved to Los Angeles. I got a chance to work with a lot of wonderful people early on in my career. I actually worked on Jason's Lyric, which was my first film.
Oh, wow.
And
that was shot here in Houston.
Yeah, it was shot here in Houston. And I got the bug then, and it's stuck with me ever since. And so I went to, a friend of mine said, "Why don't you apply to the American Film Institute?" He was a producer on this movie called Panther, Preston Holmes. He became my mentor, and now he's my best friend and producing partner. He recently produced Girls Trip, Birth of a Nation, Almost Christmas.
Oh, I love all three of those movies.
Night School.
I saw that too.
With my friends over at Will Packer Productions.
Yeah.
James Lopez, I want to mention his name because James is from Houston and is the senior VP, if not president now, of Will Packer Productions. And he's that guy that is choosing the materials, that is suggesting the materials that they make. So James is doing some awesome stuff. But Preston said, "Why don't you apply to the American Film Institute since you want to be a producer?" And so, I thought about it, heard about it. I was like, this is a tough school to get into. But I looked at the application and it said that Debbie Allen was on the board of directors. And so I saw that and then I said, okay, I got to apply because I've always wanted to work with Debbie and wanted to have this connection with her. And so I did that and got into film school. It worked out and met Debbie that day of graduation, along with Quincy Jones. And Debbie worked hard, man, she said, "Look, I'm going to get you working in this business at a high level." It took her a couple of years, though, of me going back and forth, interviewing at different things.
Sure.
And eventually she came with a TV show called Cool Women. We profiled ordinary women doing extraordinary things. It was a television series that we did for the We Network. We helped launch the We Network. And that was my big break. I produced the show and I directed many segments, got me into the Directors Guild of America. And it got me in a position to where I could really, really do my thing. And this was after working at Def Pictures with Russell Simmons and doing Gridlocked and which I loved.
Yeah.
And How to Be a Player, which was a fun project to see get made. But yeah, it has been a long journey. I've worked with Spike Lee. I worked with Paul Thomas Anderson, Carl Franklin. I've had access to a lot of lot of wonderful filmmakers over the years, and it was, after I did the TV show with Debbie Allen, I got the documentary bug, and I love roller skating. I know you're from Ohio, right?
Yes, I am.
Oh, they roller skate big time down
we do.
there.
And, yeah, especially in Dayton. Listen, it was a real thing. My grandmother roller skated.
Yeah.
Every day there was a different theme night at the roller rink in Dayton on Hoover Avenue. Dayton skates.
Yeah, Dayton skates. Yeah, I've gone all around the country, man, and following the world of roller skating. And so I wanted to do this documentary. I wanted to combine two things that I love, roller skating and filmmaking. And they always say when you want to make a film, direct a film, do something that you know. And so...
if I could take a guess. Oh my gosh, it just clicked.
Yeah.
Roll bounce.
Roll bounce, yes.
Roll bounce is you.
Yes. So the story about roll bounce, so I do this documentary. I travel the country. I go to all of these cities and roller rinks, and I meet all these different people. And I was just going to do a documentary about the different styles of roller skating.
Mm-hmm.
But then as I started meeting people, people started telling me the story, and there's a whole civil rights thing that happened, and even today, it's really tough for brothers and sisters to go to a rink and it not feel like it is segregated. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like we have a night. Mm-hmm. Soul night or whatever,
Right.
And at one point, man, we weren't allowed to skate in roller rinks. We weren't. We were allowed to skate in outdoor situations, but we weren't allowed to skate in rinks. But over time, you know how we do. We come in knocking the door down. We started creating our own rinks and doing our own thing. And so the documentary tells that whole story, the history of roller skating from a Black perspective. And it was the only documentary of its kind at the time. And I took that documentary and I went to Bob Title and George Tillman at 20th Century Fox. They have a company called State Street Pictures. They did barbershops, and they did, what was that movie? Soul Food, which I love. It was
classic.
Great film, classic film. And because I knew they were from Chicago. Chicago's another big roller skating space, and I liked those guys. They liked me, and so I went and I pitched the idea to them to make a feature film about roller skating, and I gave them a couple of treatments to some ideas that I would turn into a screenplay. Mm-hmm. But they found Roll Bounce, which is a screenplay written by Norman Vance. It was already around. It was out there in the world, and so we picked that up, and then we started. We made the film. They brought Malcolm on to direct and brought me on to produce, and the combination of the both of us made the film, I think, really special because he was able to concentrate on it, really getting the talent to be the characters that they were supposed to be, and I concentrated on the skating and getting the skating doubles and the stunt skaters and getting the whole community of roller skating, making sure that the floor was right and all of the details around it were correct, and choosing the music. I played a big role in that. So it was like, this is a movie where one of the first films that I worked from development all the way through
to post-production.
Distribution. Distribution. Yeah, I was a marketing. I had such a handle on the world. I was the expert of Black films, Black roller skating, whatever, that they wanted me to help them market the film. Okay. It's interesting when they say that come on, we'll pay you, to be a marketing consultant, and then you consult, and then they do very little of what you say.
But you still got paid though, yeah.
Oh yeah, I got paid, and the movie still did well, and it was more than getting paid. The lesson of going from the beginning to the end,
the whole soup to nuts.
Soup to nuts. It encouraged me. It empowered me. To really continue to go out and be more of an independent filmmaker, which is what I wanted to do ultimately. So having gone from working from the ground up in production to working in development at a studio to actually pitching a film and getting it made was an incredible experience. And so that's where I am now. That's what I'm like, okay, I need to stay focused on that space. And that led to me getting a PhD.
Now you're teaching at TSU.
Yeah.
You're listening to Access Houston. We're talking to Dr. Tyrone D. Dixon. who is a professor at Texas Southern University in the TV film program. And then you also have your own film company, yes?
Yeah, Daikajada Films.
Daikajada Films.
And people ask me all the time about Daikajada, but I have 4 kids, and I took the first two initials of their first names and came up with Daikajada.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
Diamond, Cameron, Jackson, and Dash. So,
what's up, guys? So I'm glad that you are giving us a little more insight into you. I always tell kids who are interested in acting in television and film, like, oh, I got to get with the director, see if I can do this. Get with the director. I'll be like, no, wrong person. Who you really need to schmooze up to and talk to are the producers.
That's correct.
They're the ones that put up the money. Correct. So if you want said role, like, no, the director, the producers is hiring the directors. Like, you need to talk to the producers. And I myself, I've acted a little bit. I got the bug, and I want to get into television. And become a TV host. And LA has always been on the radar.
Right.
I mean, back in 2004 when I was doing radio in Cleveland, TNT, it flew me out to LA for the SAG Awards to cover the SAG Awards. Yeah. And there, it was quite the trip because I'm just minding my business, walking down the street, and I got talent scouts stopping me, saying like, "Hey, who are you? You've got to look. We got come to this audition tomorrow.
Yes.
And that happened the entire weekend. I kept getting mistake for Puffy. Like, people thought I was Diddy. Like, seriously, I was like, I do not look like this man, just because I think I had on like a velour sweatsuit and some sunglasses. But
I could dig it.
They thought that I was Diddy, and so just that whole experience of being there, being at the SAG Awards, meeting all of the incredible actors and actresses of that were in Hollywood. I mean, Michael Douglas complimented me on my suit. Like, I got to meet Al Pacino.
Yes.
I was flirting with the cast of Sex and the City because that Sunday was the final episode of the show. And so I'm flirting with them. Like, and it was great. Right. And so when I left Cleveland, they didn't. Well, I got fired because they didn't renew my contract. And so as I'm in between, I was only like out of work for 6 weeks.
Right.
Got a gig in Columbus, Georgia. I'm driving down to Columbus, Georgia from Cleveland. And just the vibe of the city, like as I'm driving in, it just didn't feel right. And so I'm like, what is this? I had never felt nothing like this driving into a city, like this feeling of evilness. So that Monday, I go to the gig, get acclimated, meet everybody, not feeling it. That Tuesday, I'm just miserable.
Wow.
That Wednesday, I'm like, you know what? It was like the devil and the angel on each shoulder. Yeah. One part of me was like, hey, let's just go to LA. We don't like this. This is not going to end out well.
Yeah.
Let's just take our stuff, drive west, go to LA, make it happen. You already saw what happened when you were there before.
That's right.
You've got the talent. You got the work ethic. Like, we can do this. The other side of me is like, nope, get over yourself. You got responsibilities here. You done signed this contract. Like, do that. The other part of me is like, nope, forget this place. Let's go.
Right.
Of course, I ended up staying. But if I had one regret in life, it would be that. And ever since then, like, LA has just always been there. Like, I want to go.
I tell you, I mean, look, at TSU, we have a lot of opportunities, right? And what we're wanting to do and working hard to do is develop relationships with folk outside of the institution that are here that love radio, television, and film. And, there's a lot of opportunity there for you. Creating a reel, you can come in and we do short films that you can participate in. You can create a show and we can shoot it for you, because the students need a lot of opportunities to develop and make things happen. They don't always have all of the ideas. You may have the idea. You're the professional now working with these young people, and we give you guys the platform to work it out together and create something that we can sell to Hollywood. See, that's what I'm doing.
You're creating the content and then shopping it.
Yes. And I'm teaching my students that that's what we should be doing here. We're not just creating content for the grade or to get past this class or to graduate. You need to take something with you. You need to have a reel. And when has it ever happened? a school or a group of students create a project, some content, and they have somebody that can actually shop it, and it happens. Well, that's what happened with John Singleton with
Which one?
his very first one.
Oh, Boys in the Hood.
Boys in the Hood. He was a USC student. He wrote this screenplay. His faculty members read it. Faculty members shared it with some of their professionals, and before you knew it,
Wow,
boom,
it was shot.
it was happening.
Wow.
So that can happen here. TSU is the closest HBCU to the West Coast,
Yeah.
right? We're just a hop, skip, and a jump on the flight, 3-hour flight, So for you, that opportunity is still there. You just gotten a little closer to it,
yeah.
coming here from Ohio. You know what I mean? So I would encourage you, to keep pushing forward with that, because you do have the skills, you do have the talent, you do have the chops, and everything is so connected today.
Yeah.
Having your own, visual podcast. We're teaching our students to do podcasts and put cameras in certain places and how to make that happen. So
they've done that here with me recently with my celebrity interviews with a few R&B artists. I interviewed Glenn Jones, H-Town, and Ro James, and so the video guy that they brought in, actually shout out to the Mad Hatter for doing that. I looked so good. And it was the different.
So
it was the different angles, like them switching from them, to me to a wider shot. And and then the interviews were good too. And this is how I know it was good. When I sit and watch a whole interview of myself talking to somebody else, because I can't stand to look at myself.
There you go.
When I sit and watch the whole thing, I'm like, oh yeah, this is golden. And so now I'm just like, no turning back. So yeah, to that point, the mayor, Sylvester Turner, he wants Houston to be the next Atlanta. And I'm like, I can see that happening.
Yeah.
Because there aren't a lot of movies that are set here, a lot of TV shows that are set here or whatever, but I don't know what it is about it. And so a question was asked, what should be done with the dome? And everybody had all of these ideas. And I was like, you know what? I think they should make the dome a soundstage.
Yes.
They should make it a soundstage and have those Hollywood, movie, film, picture companies come here to shoot.
It's
you got to give them the tools.
It's such a great idea to use the Astrodome in that way, because it still continues to be what it is. This iconic,
this eighth wonder of the world, as they call
exactly.
it. Yeah,
it can even become even more of that. It can represent greater that title if the city were open to doing something like that. But the biggest issue, and I'll give you an example. This is how Jimbo and I have been working together for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a writer on the screenplay called Scouts, The Chronicles of Troop 242, The Chronicles of Troop 242,
mm-hmm.
Which is based on Will Avenue's Baptist Church, their Boy Scout troop.
Okay.
Troop 242 created more Black Eagle Scouts than any other troop in the nation. So, so I thought that needed to be applauded and
that story needed to be told.
That story be told. And so we kind of crafted a comedy. It's loosely based on their story, but it tells you about the history. But it's a comedy, coming of age, PG-13.
Sure.
We've been developing that project for over 10 years. Writing involved with other things.
Right.
Jimbo gets involved with other things. And so, excuse me, when I finished my PhD, I got a PhD in media psychology. I felt like I needed to have something else to add to the table when I'm speaking with a particular audience, as well as studio executives. Sometimes the project you have is a great project, and it's not about the project; it's about how you present it to them, and that in itself is a whole nother beast, right? So when I got the PhD, I said, "Look, all right, I'm going to produce this movie." So Debbie Allen was in town for the premiere of a ballet documentary that she was in. And I go visit her and her to direct the feature film.
Okay.
And we'll direct your movie. You're a great director. I thought you were a great director when I met you. When we worked together, you were awesome and all that, but you're even better director. So I think you should make the film and do all that you can to make the film. And I said, So I walked away from that, going, okay. I had never really thought of myself as the director. So I put my head into the project and started rewriting the screenplay again and hiring other writers. And I got the project completed and met with some venture capitalists who said that they would help me raise money for the film. And then I started moving forward with it. As we have a lot of money here. Mm-hmm. There's tons of money here. Oil and gas industry is not playing around. Energy capital. The medical field is not playing around. Yeah. There's a lot going on in business here. We have to invest in independent films before Hollywood decides to come here and spend time. Yeah, that's the bottom line. Okay. It has nothing to do with people say, oh, tax incentives. We need to give them taxes. Oh, Texas gives you some things. Maybe not what Atlanta or Georgia gives what Georgia does, but you get some stuff. Yeah. And the cost of shooting here is a lot less than shooting in those places because it just hasn't been a place where people have shot a whole lot of things.
Yeah, and it's so huge. There's so much room. There's so much they can do.
It's so huge. There's so much land space. The architecture here is awesome. There's period looks. There's modern looks. Yes. There's all of that stuff here. And with all of the success that the city has had, why not? I met with Mayor Turner about Scouts actually, and he turned me on to a couple of people who thought would invest in the film, and so I moved forward with that. So right now we're in a very good place of we've connected with a couple of companies who have funds, film funds that they're willing to partner with the project, and we've got a couple of people interested in distributing it. But it has taken so long. I've been working on, again, like over 10 years, but for the last 2 years, just raising the money. All this money here, it is so hard to get people to say, okay, they'd rather invest in oil and gas than they will in a film or real estate versus a film. And so it is interesting to I
think because they haven't seen it.
Yes.
Constantly. I think, and once they do, and they see like, oh, this is going to bring some more.
That is what the VC guys that I've been working with have said. Tyrone, once you do this, hang in there, stick with it, raise the money, get this movie made, because once it's done, you will have opened the door for opportunities.
So what else is next besides? We got
I got Scouts. We're getting really close to. We're hoping in spring that we'll be in production on that. Okay. And then 8 Wheels and Some Soul Brother music is now available to stream. You can stream it on Amazon and iTunes. And I'm excited about that because there's a new documentary. And people used to ask me all the time, when are you going to do 8 Wheels 2? When are you going to do 8 Wheels 2? And I'm like, man, that was something special. And I don't know if I can do a part 2 to that. And not only that, I'm hoping somebody else comes along and makes a film. I don't have to be the first and only film about black folk roller skating. Right. And people roller skating in general. So there's a new documentary called United Skates documentary. The United Skates documentary, which was executive produced or financed by John Legend. HBO picked it up. So it did its festival thing like I did. Right. Blah.
I remember that earlier in the year at the film festivals. And John Legend kept popping up. Okay, so that's that. Now it's making
HBO
sense now.
Picked that up. That's coming out next. That's coming out in 2019, probably summer of 2019, which got me. Okay. Oh, so it's going down like that. So I immediately called up Norman Vance, who's a writer for Roll Bounce. And I said, man, the energy around the roller skating stuff is coming back again. I'm going out to pitch this reality show soon. Do you think we have room for Roll Bounce 2? And he said yes. And so we're now working on Roll Bounce 2.
Look at that. We got an exclusive. Got an exclusive here this morning on Access Houston. Man, Dr. Tyrone D. Dixon. Brother, thank you so much for coming on. This was very informative.
Yeah.
And I hope anyone that's listening out there, if you are an aspiring actor, actress, producer, director, a PA, key grip, whatever, this is some good words. So I thank you for coming
I appreciate
on.
You having me down. And I wanted to give you one last thing to think about. Sure. I have a project that I'm developing with a faculty member of mine. It's called The Trials of E. Ward Brown. This story is amazing. It's a book that you can get on Amazon or whatever, but it's a true story. Happened in this city of Houston, Texas, in the early 80s. Eroy Brown was a prisoner, and he killed the warden and the farm manager. And Craig Washington, the great Craig Washington, fought for him and defended this guy and got him off for self-defense. And it's an amazing story, not just about that, but also about the corruption of penitentiaries in the state of Texas and just what all of that world looks like. So we're so close to finishing the short documentary on that. And I have the pitch, the treatment, and all that kind of stuff together. So we're also going out with that. So with Scouts, Eroy Brown, Roll Bounce 2.
Eight Wheels being able to be
Eight Wheels,
streaming everywhere. Yeah.
Hopefully we get the reality show going. So there's a lot of stuff happening. And then the big thing is that everything that's happening at TSU, I want folk who are very interested in film and television to know that TSU, we offer everything that they need to get to the next level. And I want to make sure that the folk in Houston get to understand that.
Well, thank you for letting them know, and me myself, because I'm going to take advantage of those things that you mentioned earlier.
Please do.
Man, thank you so much for coming on.
If there's anything I can do for you, you just let me know.
Sure, absolutely. I thank you so much for coming on. This was great.
Thank you, KG.
And thank you for listening to Access Houston.